Welcome to the Nerf Report. My name is Bryant. We have a great show lined up for you this week. Facebook adds another developer to Oculus Studios. Google Stadia gets a long time requested feature. And Riot Games has announced a brand new program in order to combat in-game toxicity. And before we jump into this week's show, quick little housekeeping. If you could do me a favor, hit that like button. And if it's your first time here, please consider subscribing to the channel. I feel extremely cringy every single time I have to ask that, but apparently it helps Google realize that this is a great channel and share it with other people, and eventually allows us to do this full time and quit our day jobs. So if you could help us out, that would be fantastic. We've got a great show lined up for you, so without further ado, here is this week's episode of the Nerf Report.
Are you listening?
Welcome back to the Nerf Report. My name is Bryant, and what an insane week it has been for gamers. PlayStation gave us an extended look at the upcoming exclusive Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, which looks awesome, and Nintendo released an online multiplayer update for Super Mario Party, which the only question I have is like, why wasn't this available at launch? But quite possibly one of the biggest stories from this week was Facebook expanding their content creation production house, Oculus Studios. That's right, this week Oculus and Facebook announced the acquisition of Downpour Interactive, the studio behind the fantastic VR game Onward, which if you've never heard of this game, it is truly one of the shining gems that virtual reality has to offer. Onward is one of the premier multiplayer military simulators, where you work closely with your teammates to fight in some of the most realistic firefights that I have ever experienced in gaming. I mean, I think the best way to explain this game is imagine Rainbow Six Siege, but in virtual reality. And honestly, this is a great acquisition by Oculus, as the team who put this game together is clearly talented. And now with the financial support that Facebook has, I can't wait to see where this studio goes next. Now, Downpour Interactive was quick to point out that in most aspects, Onward will not be affected by the acquisition. The game will remain available on all platforms. However, with the resources that come with being part of Oculus Studios, Downpour does plan on accelerating the speed of the game's development. And next up, let's talk about Google Stadia, who this week showed off a ton of new upgrades and improvements coming to the platform, including one of the most demanded features since the launch of Stadia, a search bar. Now, when Stadia launched in 2019, it had like 27 games, so a search feature wasn't really necessary because it's like, do I have the game? Well, of course I do. But now that the platform has over 126 games, hey, as someone who uses Stadia, this is an extremely welcomed feature. And Stadia also teased some new features coming to the platform in the future, including an activity feed that shows off your friends' in-game activity, along with the ability to delete multiple gameplay captures and screenshots, which is great news because I'm one of those gamers that always accidentally hits the capture button. So I have like a bunch of random screenshots. So someone's like, why'd you take a photo of a wall? And like, anyway, I need to go through there and I just need to delete all of them. And you know, I've seen a lot of people who are just brushing the story off or turning it around as a joke, but for me, I mean, I think that this story is so important. Like, for me, this is a sign that Stadia as a company hasn't given up. Because despite the company stating plenty of times that they have zero plans on shutting down, there's still this really weird narrative out there that the platform is somehow doomed. However, with these improvements, it shows that they are still actively investing into their platform, not only with money, but with time and new features. In reality, this is the best sign that we could ask for, as it shows that the company is still committed to growing and improving Stadia as a platform. And finally, for this week, let's talk about Riot Games, who created quite the whirlwind of controversy when the company revealed that they will begin to monitor in-game voice chat in order to curb toxic behavior among their player base. And you know, this has been a really interesting story to watch because on one hand, you have the camp of gamers who all agree that some gamers are just way too toxic and developers should do something about it. However, on the other side, you have players who are concerned that Riot holding gamers accountable to their toxicity is an attack on free speech, which I'll give you one guess as to which side is guilty of being toxic. Now, in all seriousness, gamer toxicity is a major issue. In fact, we did an entire show that highlighted the toxic behavior that we encountered in just 1 hour of playing PUBG.
Shut the f up, you man.
How you doing with that?
Hey kids, you want to buy some drugs?
1, 2, 3 with your mouth open on a
Oh, number one.
China number 2.
I gotta put pink town, dude. You hear all these talking? Gotta
China number one.
Everybody going to school.
There's more Asians on this server than Americans.
Is that why I'm lagging right now? Because these Asians?
And clearly, Riot Games has nothing to do with PUBG, because if they did, well, PUBG would be a good game. But in the case of Riot's game Valorant, well, here's an example of what happened recently that showcases gamer toxicity perfectly.
Oh, say something, pussy. Say something. Guac, extra guac. You're just a woman. Say something, pussy.
This is what I have to deal with in gaming, you guys, every single day.
That was their best. Pathetic.
Dude, what's your problem? Why do you keep mauling me?
Are you a woman? Okay, leave the game.
You're a woman. That's why, you piece of shit.
And just to reiterate, I mean, this is a great example of the type of toxic behavior that Riot is hoping to address. And to do so, Riot has implemented a brand new privacy notice which alerts players that the company will actively capture and monitor voice comms when a report is submitted. Now, the key thing here to note is that comms will only be recorded when a report is submitted, so they won't be listening into everything. Plus, Riot has also explained that players who don't want to have their voice recorded have the option to turn it off, but this in turn kills the ability to chat with other players completely. And for the $1,000,000 question, will this solve the toxicity that's found in Valorant's player base? Well, the optimist in me hopes so, but unfortunately the realist in me understands that much like when cheaters get caught cheating in a game, they just create a new account and keep exploiting the game over and over. And if I'm being honest, I am worried that with bans for toxic behavior, this is just going to create that same situation. But it is weird to hear people stand up and say that this is a violation of my freedom of speech. Like, I don't know how many times we have to say this, but freedom of speech here in the United States protects you from government persecution over the things you said. If a company decides to take actions against you because you're being toxic or racist, your actions aren't protected under free speech. For example, if we were at a restaurant and another customer starts yelling and screaming and the owners ask them to leave because they are ruining other customers' experience, that's not an attack on freedom of speech. Yes, it doesn't solve toxicity entirely, but it makes the overall experience for myself and other people at the restaurant so much better. And I think this comes down to the confusion that your entitlement towards being toxic is more important than the enjoyment and happiness of others. And with Riot taking these actions, it's going to be extremely interesting to see if these changes in the long run actually do help. And I genuinely do hope that we see more companies take actions against toxicity like this. And to wrap this whole thing up, I mean, clearly this is a big story that could change the gaming landscape forever. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. So please let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Well, that's going to wrap up this week's episode of the Nerf Report. Thank you again so much for watching. And a special thank you to all of the Nerf Report best friends who make content just like this possible. Until next time, my name is Bryant Chappelle, and this is the Nerf Report. Thanks for watching. Hey, thanks again for checking out our channel. If you like what you saw and you want to see more content just like it, which who wouldn't, hit the subscribe button right there. And while you're down there, hit the like button. Maybe even consider becoming a Nerf Report best friend, just like the people listed down below did. In fact, don't you want to see your name there? I know I do.